Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. Good evening. If you could quiet down and we can begin the mundane work of government. Jimmy Palmieri, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jimmy. City Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Councilmember Heilman,
Here.
Councilmember Horvath,
Here.
Councilmember Meister,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem D'Amico,
Yes.
and Mayor Duran is out.
Yes, without objection, his absence is excused. We had no closed, well, actually, before we begin, I haven't done this in several years, so.
We'll help you.
Thanks, that's the note to self, they're gonna help. Report of the closed session agenda, there was no closed session meeting this evening. Approval of the agenda. City Clerk, are there any changes on tonight's agenda?
If I may, Mayor John Duran requested that a number of items be tabled to a future meeting so he could participate. The first item he requested is item 3A, which is the public hearing on the zone text amendments. Also that item 5A be tabled. This is Councilmember Meister's item to look at various neighborhood-friendly multifamily development policies. Also on item 6A, which is the item regarding the cannabis use ordinance, that we move forward with discussions on recommendation 1 and 2. However, that recommendation 3, alternatives 1 and 2 concerning whether the council should increase the total number of licenses, that particular portion of the ordinance be deferred to a later meeting where he could participate.
And I'm guessing, City Attorney, we're fine with dissecting item 6A into two pieces and doing the second piece at a date certain, or do we have a date for any of those items, Paul?
At this point, just date uncertain, and if
Okay.
we need to renotice, we'll renotice.
All right. With no objection from my colleagues, we will table 3A, 5A, and part of 6A. Any other items wish to move to consent or?
Mayor
Yep.
Pro Tem? Hi.
Yes.
Sorry, staff is requesting that item 2O be tabled as well.
All right. And item 2O, for those of you reading along, is the proposed facility license agreement for wireless facilities attaching to the city infrastructure in the public right-of-way. Anyone else?
I was wondering if we could put the budget update on consent tonight.
That would be item 4A.
Yes.
With no objection. All right. What we have left is commission appointments and item 3B, which is amendments to the city's municipal code to create a wireless facility application review fee. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the approval of the agenda? Passes. We will now listen to any adjournment motions. Any of my colleagues have an adjournment motion? Ms. Meister?
Thank you. I'd like to adjourn in memory of James Andrew Dahl. James was a resident of West Hollywood West. He was actually a neighbor of mine on Westbourne. He passed away on February 13th at the age of 40. He was a gifted filmmaker and a patron of the arts. He founded Modern Man Films, an LA-based film, television podcast, and virtual reality development and production company, which produced the critically acclaimed film The End of the Tour in 2015. James was a passionate, well-read, and humorous man who always saw the world through a creative and unique lens, and whose spirit was infectious. He was a loyal and devoted friend to many throughout his life. He was at his happiest with his fiancée Colleen and their golden retriever Fallon, exploring the outdoors and traveling. Thank you.
Without objection, Councilmember Heilman?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem. I would request that we adjourn in memory of Patricia Nell Warren. Patricia Nell Warren was an author and an activist. Her 1974 novel, The Front Runner, was one of the first novels to feature an open romantic relationship between two men. It became a source of inspiration for a lot of people in the LGBT community. It was also a book that is credited with inspiring the creation of more than 100 LGBT running clubs, now collectively known as the International Front Runners. Patricia was very involved with the LA Front Runner community over the years. She was also a candidate for council in the city of West Hollywood several years ago, and she will be missed by many in our community. I'd request we adjourn in her memory.
Without objection. Councilmember Horvath? All right, now we will begin the public comment portion of our evening. The city, of course, values your comments. However, pursuant to the Brown Act, we cannot take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. The public comment period is limited to 20 minutes with 2 minutes allotted for each speaker. After 20 minutes, City Clerk will evaluate as a group how to continue. It seems we have a fairly good number of speakers, but we will begin at the top and work our way down through them. The first speaker is Tom DeMille on item 2H.
This is Tom DeMille, and you know, it's a lot of different things tonight that are happening. We're rushing to judgment to ruin a man. I'm not talking about me, the person in blackface that was made ridiculed by 60 million people around the world. That's not me. Talk about another man. And that's not what we do. We don't ruin men. We don't ruin women. You know, I mean, just throw the first stone. I mean, no one's perfect. I haven't met anybody perfect yet. You know, we just try to be as fair and you know, outgoing and let people know exactly how you feel. And I don't think the city council has done that when it comes to Ed Buck and the situation with that, with the lack of information and the people getting more angry as the nights go on, and rightfully so. And last week I was called a racist. I'm not a racist. But you better have your facts. And you should not rush to judgment. Jackie Lacey, she's your district attorney. If she had something on Ed Buck would have been in handcuffs 6 weeks ago, 6 hours from now, 6 minutes from now. But it hasn't happened yet. We have to allow that time to happen. It's none of our business. Hope to have your vote on Election Day. It's taken me 20 years, public service, and my 5th run for City Council. I'll never let you down. Thank you very much. My name is Tom DeMille. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeMille. Michael Cintron on item 2O. Michael, not here. Anna Sweat. Oh, Michael, that's you.
Hello, honorable city council members. My name is Michael Cintron. I'm here on behalf of Crown Castle. I believe this item's been moved off the agenda, and so I'll be back in 2 weeks to speak on it. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, sir. Anna Sweat to be followed by Steve Martin.
I renege.
All right. Mr. Martin to be followed by Marco Colantonio.
Good evening, City Council. Thank you for the audience tonight. We would like to express our deep concerns with the sexual harassment that is going on inside the community. We would like to implore that the West Hollywood City Council explore new ways to curb sexual harassment and abuse through financial means. Me Too March International believes that a great way we could do this is to work with you and state partners to come up with new laws, such as if a business owner is empowering financial operators inside of our communities, that they cannot use those financial means through businesses to cover up their crimes, purchases for drugs, or hiding apartments in secret accounts. We need action. We need action now. 40% of all homeless youth is LGBTQ, and these are members of our community who are experiencing outrageous violence and sexual predation over and over again. So we would like to bring Me Too and West Hollywood together to come up with new ideas to work with our state partners to come up with ways to neuter the way people have financial access to hide their crimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Marco Colantonio to be followed by Dennis Gleason.
Marco Colantonio, longtime resident of West Hollywood. I offered to read this statement from Mayor John Jude Duran, as he is still in the hospital recovering from blood clots and related medical procedures. I consider John a friend and mentor. His more than 30 years of activism for LGBT, human rights, the fight for equality, his public service, strength and honesty gave me hope when I was diagnosed HIV positive and inspired me to serve our community. Statement from Mayor John Jude Duran. To my community and colleagues in West Hollywood, first, thank you for all your kind wishes regarding my health. This has been a challenging week dealing with the blood clots in my legs and the threat they posed for me. I'm truly sorry for the place we find ourselves in today. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Those are words from Abraham Lincoln after a civil war that pitted family member against family member. And this is how this feels as longtime community members pick a side while others wish it would all go away. I've been taught to always look for my part in any dilemma. I have to identify my part in the situation and own it. I've always been quick with a punchline or a joke. Humor is my defense mechanism. I often say things that people say are off color, ridiculous, racy, or bawdy. People laugh or stammer. Some cringe, some wish I wouldn't. But it's who I am, and I will say something improper. And if I say something improper, I will always be quick to apologize if it went too far. It seems to me that the current angst has been created by things I've said, one comment sounding to some as racist, and other comments as sexually inappropriate and beneath the dignity of an elected official. The comment I made about the Asian American man who made accusations against me recently in the Los Angeles Times was not meant to single out his race. It was rude and hurtful about someone's appearance, and for that I owe him and the community an apology. Some of you know my family is composed of mixed Latino and Asian heritages. My nephew married a Korean American woman who's presently pregnant with their first son, who will be mixed Asian, Latino, and white. I didn't have any racist feelings towards my own immediate family or anyone else, but my words spoken in anger and haste were wrong, and for that I am truly sorry, and I would like to apologize to anyone I've offended. The issue of sexual harassment at the Gay Men's Chorus was initiated by a local blog who took an internal matter at a nonprofit where I sing with 280 other men. Unfortunately, people are piling on false narrative that is untrue. Sexual harassment is a serious issue, and every accusation must be received and taken seriously. It's time for less heat and a little more light. If we are demanding transparency and process as community core values, then we must extend and exercise those values with patience and forbearance, or we subject ourselves to the rule of the mob over justice. Thank you, John Duran.
Thank you, Marco. Dennis Gleason to be followed by Steve Martin.
Good evening. First of all, I would like to request the same additional time that you provided for the last speaker for all speakers. Good evening. My name is Dennis Gleason. I'm a proud member of the Los Angeles LGBT community and also a staff member for a Los Angeles City Council member. Last March, while attending the National League of Cities conference in Washington, D.C., I was contacted on an app by a man I quickly learned to be Mayor John Duran. I told Duran that I was a staffer for another elected official, that my boyfriend was a West Hollywood City employee, and that any sort of sexual interaction would be, as I politely put it, quote, too close to home. In retrospect, I really wish I could have mustered the courage to just block him, but because he was the mayor of another city, I felt like I had to be a little more polite. I also thought that once he knew who I was, who I worked for, and who my boyfriend was, that he would stop his sexual advances and perhaps apologize for the awkwardness and move on. But he did not stop. He continued to make sexual comments and continued to make unwanted sexual advances towards me. While I won't say I suffered any lasting harm from this interaction, it did make me feel very uncomfortable. For a young gay man working in politics or local government, relationships are everything. And let's be honest, John Duran is an icon. He is well known for his leadership and commitment to the LGBT community. So I ask you, how would you feel, or how would you respond when someone you respect, a mentor, a leader, will not take no for an answer? I regret my interaction with John Duran. I was embarrassed by it, and for nearly a year, the only person I told about it was my boyfriend. Then, as new allegations began to surface, I thought about Jake, my former USC intern. Jake was young, gay, extremely intelligent, and extremely ambitious. He once asked me to lunch and told me, "My goal is to be a council member in 10 years. What do I need to do to achieve that?" I also knew that Jake looked up to me. He thought of me as a mentor, and he aspired to be just like me. Jake idolized me, and I'm very cognizant of the power that gave me over him. Even though he was very attractive, I never made any sexual comments, any comments about his appearance, nor made any physical contact with him in any way, because I knew that the power dynamic of our relationship would have made it impossible for him to say no. Given my relative power and influence over this young man, I couldn't take a lack of no as a form of consent. The thought of Jake, or any young, eager, ambitious political one of my gay younger brothers, being put in the same uncomfortable situation with Duran has forced me to speak up. Enough is enough. This is not about body sexual behavior, as Mayor Duran continues to argue. It is about abuse of power, period. John Duran is an elected official and should hold himself to a higher standard. It is not appropriate for an elected official to make sexual comments to or advances on anyone in a lower or subordinate position. That is a responsibility of the job, and the mayor of this city, through his own comments, has demonstrated a complete lack of respect for the position he holds, a lack of respect for the employees of the city he leads, and a lack of respect for the residents of West Hollywood. Mayor Duran, it is time to resign. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gleason. Steve Martin to be followed by Michael Gurley.
Steve Martin, the older of West Hollywood. Brett Kavanaugh was just expressing his sexuality. Donald Trump is who he is. You know, the time for excuses is over. And it's not like this. The last few weeks have been an isolated incident. There has been a long history of self-serving statements, misogynist acts, acts of sexual harassment on the part of Mayor John Duran. Had that statement at Stonewall, where John Duran said, "We're not all lesbians," would have ended a political career in San Francisco or San Diego. Last year, we witnessed John Duran as mayor trying to have Ivy Bottini arrested for being critical of his press conference on Stormy Daniels. No one spoke up. Everybody empowered him. You guys endorsed him, with the exception of Lauren Meister, for re-election, knowing what he was like. John has come here tonight through a surrogate and talked about his commitment to the community. And I don't doubt that, except that he won't make the ultimate sacrifice, the adult sacrifice. If he cares about West Hollywood, if he cares about the gay community, he will do the adult thing and step aside, no matter how painful it is. And it will be painful, and I certainly understand that. But the time has come to put away the excuses, and if this is what your legacy is going to be, and trust me, this is all people are going to be talking about for the next 10 years. So if he really cares, he really needs to end on a high note and do something right for this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Michael Gurley, to be followed by Esther Baum.
Honorable council members, especially D'Amico, Meister, and Horvath, I want to thank you for looking my boyfriend in the eye while he talked to you. My name is Michael Gurley. I was a resident of West Hollywood for 27 years until I moved to LA last year. I've been an employee of the city for 22 years. And it's noteworthy that I was International Mr. Leather in 2007, so I'm very familiar with out-of-the-box sexuality. I'm here to ask you to fix the city's sexual harassment policy. In October, I reported to HR sexual impropriety of the mayor. After 2.5 months, I received a letter from the Director of Administrative Services telling me that the reported behavior could not be substantiated. Now that the LA Times and WehoVille have substantiated it, I think it is clear that the City of West Hollywood's process for reporting and investigating sexual misconduct is a complete joke. It is not possible for the city's internal HR department to conduct a credible investigation when the subject of the investigation is one of 3 council member votes required to fire the city manager who the administrative director reports to. That creates an obvious incentive to exonerate the actions of the elected official. West Hollywood has no hotline, no website, no email address by which people can report sexual harassment. Enough is enough. Before we as a city start telling our nonprofits that they need a sexual harassment policy, we need to clean our own house and make sure that it's in order. It's embarrassing when a family member steps out of line. But when they do, it's time to review our core principles, our values, and let them guide us. Several of us have spent decades together. I've been in your homes. You've been in mine. You know, we've done many, many things that we're proud of, and tonight I ask you to build on that history of all those amazing things that we've done together, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's unpopular, and even when it might cost us social capital. That's the West Hollywood that I was proud to be a part of. Please show us tonight that that spirit is still alive in this chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Gurley. Esther Baum, to be followed by Richard Eastman.
Esther Baum, resident of almost 30 years. I want to speak on something entirely different, aging in place. I feel that can't happen unless we have dial-a-ride on Saturday and Sunday. Not having the van service encourages seniors to continue driving when they shouldn't. It would be a benefit to younger drivers if we had dial-a-ride on Saturday and Sunday, and I hope you will consider it.
Thank you, Esther. Richard Eastman, to be followed by Ty Sunanen.
Richard Eastman, City of Residence, Hollywood. When I first came to West Hollywood over 40 years ago, I was a young gay man living from San Francisco, not with AIDS, not with the marijuana reputation that I have of changing America with John Heilman's help. But does any of you remember Valerie Tremiglio, the first mayor? Whatever happened to her, you know, should happen to John Duran. And Ed Buck, you know, you really do need to dump Tina again. And ultimately here I'm standing before you, a gay man living with AIDS, and John Duran was the lawyer for Scott Imler and the LA Cannabis Resource Center, which was not a perfect cannabis shop. It was corrupt, and your 4 shops that are corrupt, with MedMen in the back next to a liquor store, not wanting to help people with AIDS or cancer anymore, but selling it like liquor and tobacco is unjust. I can't blame you entirely for that. I can blame Prop 64, taking away the compassion that Dennis Perone, who died last year from cigarettes, that provided marijuana to not only the residents of West Hollywood and Los Angeles, but now 30 states, 9 or 10 legal, and I was supposed to be dead 25 years ago. If John Duran is watching this, and I urged you years ago for him to resign, he never pinched my butt, and I remember some of the scandals with other council people who will go unnamed. And poor Valerie was my friend. She was the first mayor. And whatever happened to her, I didn't agree with then. And I do agree with what you're going to do to John Duran and Ed Buck. And Ed Buck should be in jail because crystal meth kills so many and marijuana heals so many. And black and brown lives and yellow lives matter. And unto my dying days, I will fight for gay civil rights and freedom in this country and a cure for AIDS and electing a president that believes in gay people, not just uses them as a rag doll. Peace and love, and free the weed, and get rid of the corrupt pot shops. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eastman. Ty Sunanen, followed by Robert Oliver.
And Mayor Pro Tem, we're past the 20-minute mark, but we have about 15 more speakers if you want to continue.
I'd like to continue. Is that all right with my colleagues? Good. Mr. Sunanen, please.
Good evening, City Council members. Ty Sunanen, proud resident of West Hollywood and proud to be your Public Facilities Commissioner. I'm here to start with two themes. One is embarrassment. Two is exhaustion. I bleed the colors of being a proud Asian and Latino American. I am proud to be gay. I'm proud to be a resident of West Hollywood, to live, work, and play in this city, but lately I've been exhausted and I've been embarrassed. I have to defend this city with relatives and friends who live out of state because we have not sought the proper due justice to two black men who have died in our neighborhoods. I am also exhausted and embarrassed about a mayor who uses gay and sexual liberation as a front with undue and unnecessary behavior that is really unbecoming of this city. I'm going to end with two other themes: healing and justice. Even the perpetrators deserve healing in this case. But where it's needed most right now is within our community, within the victims who no longer have a voice. And I'm going to end with the colors that justice bleeds. Justice, when performed properly, bleed the colors for Timothy, Dean, and Jamel Moore. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sunanen. Robert Oliver, to be followed by Jack Klein.
Good evening, council members. My name is Robert Oliver, and I was the vice chair of the Public Safety Commission until a week ago. I resigned from my position in frustration with this city's unwillingness to hold John Duran accountable for his pattern of disturbing behavior. Mayor Duran has made me feel uncomfortable. He has made my friends and colleagues feel uncomfortable. And after the most recent wave of allegations, I could no longer take part in a system that remains silent. Since my statement last week, many in the community have echoed that message, including 3 of you on this council. Any doubt that I have had about the seriousness of this situation has been alleviated by the individuals who have since come to share their stories of interactions with Mayor Duran. Here is what we know. The mayor of this city refuses to take responsibility or admit his wrongdoing. He continues to use sexual liberation as cover for his pattern of bad behavior. He has cost our city dollars and reputation, and he has used one alleged victim's race and appearance to diminish his credibility. That is wrong and unbecoming of any elected official. Mr. Duran has made immense contributions to this city, but they cannot excuse misconduct that harms those most vulnerable in our community. He defends himself by stating that the alleged victims should have spoken up, that it was their responsibility to put him in check. What Mayor Duran does not seem to realize is that when he enters a room or conversation, his power, influence, and reputation precede him. What he cannot understand or is unwilling to admit is the fact that many feel like they can't say no to the mayor, or to the chair of the board, or to a pillar in the recovery community, and so on. I am calling on our mayor to act like one. Mayor Duran has proven by his response alone that he is no longer worthy of his title. I think the harm already done to our city is too great for him to remain on this council. It is time for his colleagues to remove him as mayor, and it is time for him to resign from city council and allow West Hollywood to heal.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver. Jack Klein to be followed by Gregory Mahan.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Jack Klein, also known as Jackie Oh My Goodness. I'm a West Hollywood resident and a not-so-famous drag queen. This council elected John Duran as mayor, knowing his history. No one on this council voted against him. I think most of you abstained or voted yes for him to be council. What did you expect was going to happen knowing his history? From his past as being sexually harassed. I work in a hospital, and we have zero tolerance for sexual harassment. Anyone in the hospital with that behavior would be fired on the spot. But I am more concerned about the Ed Buck situation than I am with John Duran alleged allegation. I'm concerned that this council has accepted money from him for their campaigns and have not given it back. I think the money should be donated to victims of sexual crime. I'm also against the cannabis tax. I think the city has enough revenue on hand. I think the cannabis is already heavily taxed, and the city has $100 million in revenue. They shouldn't be taxing any more. We don't need any more taxes in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Mr. Mahan to be followed by Eric John Schmidt.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor. Should have put that first. It's been a long time since I spoke standing here, but I think that this is an important evening. I know all of you. I think the City Council, I've met you, and I respect all of you. I actually like all of you. But I most of all respect you for the work that you do. It's hard, and you hear all the complaints. And let me just say that as a young seminarian, I marched with Dr. Martin Luther King in Milwaukee and Chicago. And I found within the civil rights movement, and Father Malcolm Boyd, who became a very good friend of mine, I marched with him, I found a great deal of homophobia in the civil rights movement. People marching for rights and didn't recognize the fact that they were talking about gay people like they were less than people. When I worked for Bill Clinton, after he beat Frank White was such a horrible Republican, they reelected Bill Clinton, and they knew his flaws. We're all flawed. And despite the fact that we're all flawed, we can all be civil. Rude is only one form of human behavior, and it's vastly overrated. It very often has exactly the wrong reaction from people. Sometimes what you say is not as important as how you say it. I think people who are being rude to other speakers, no matter what their opinion is, don't have a very good opinion of themselves. I'm Irish, and I'm going to end 20 seconds early. Brief is not one of our words. Thank you very much, City Council. The best of luck to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mahan. Eric Schmidt to be followed by Deborah D'Amato.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tempore and Council. My name is Eric Schmidt, longtime resident of West Hollywood. Abuse of power, yeah, there is such a thing, but there's something else that's equally worse, and that is the lack of power that you people have had in the past and didn't use it. When a dead black man was found in Ed Buck's apartment, you did nothing to further that investigation. You didn't follow up on it. And then another dead black man, only because he lined all your pockets so you could be reelected. That's why you didn't investigate. And now there's another one. When's going to be the next one? I heard recently that he said he's going to be found dead soon. When are we going to put a stop to this? You know, abuse of power goes both ways. You can either abuse the power or you cannot use it at all. And you have failed desperately at using your power and your authority to investigate this crime. And I might add, you know, regarding I don't want to get too much into the Duran situation, but in West Hollywood, we have 2 strip clubs where women dance totally nude, 8 porn shops, 1 adult theater on our main drag called Tomcat, I think it's called now, where men go in there and have sex in public. And so we are almost like the Harper Valley PTA. You know, when you point the finger at someone, there's 3 of your fingers pointing back at you. So I think we need to look at ourselves, and we need to look at ways that we can improve the community overall, not just pick on one person as an example. I think that's a really cheap way to do it. And it's unethical, and I think it's wrong. And I think there needs to be a better system for people reporting these crimes, because they're not crimes, they're allegations. We don't know if it's true. No one's been questioned. There's no witnesses. Let's not rush to judgment. Let's play it through and see what happens. And lastly, I just want to say regarding the mayor, I think that the mayor should be elected and not appointed or rotated as it is now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Deborah D'Amato to be followed by Lynn, et cetera.
Hello, Deborah D'Amato, longtime resident of West Hollywood, and totally different subject, but I would like to propose that we put a stop sign at the crosswalk on Fuller Avenue. People use that as a straight, yes?
What's the other street?
I'm sorry, between Santa Monica Boulevard and Fountain.
Thank you.
It crosses Fuller into Plummer Park, and it is used by a lot of families, a lot of people. Vista on the other side of the park has speed bumps as well as a stop sign for the crosswalk. We do not. I am currently recovering from being hit in a crosswalk, and I would like to see some changes being made on that street. I actually stood there waiting with a cane and a brace on my leg a third of the way into the crosswalk while a person was coming down the street, and I put my hands up like I'm in the crosswalk, and he threw his hands up like this and went, "Come on." And I said, you know, he never stopped. People do not stop there. They use it as a throughway, and I would really like some attention paid to that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. D'Amato, for coming to let us know about that. And I hope you get well soon. Mr. Et cetera, to be followed by Robert V.
Lynn, et cetera, resident of West Hollywood, before shortly it became a city. There's an election March the 5th, and normally people would be coming up to this microphone to endorse candidates, and I'm endorsing Lauren, Lindsay, and John D'Amico, the people's candidates. We had really great council members when the city first started who were very progressive, and our 3 incumbents are like those early council members before people like Heilman, who hasn't said John Duran was wrong, and Abby Land ripped the city apart as a community. And my point is that we have to go through all this negativity when we should be doing positivity about an election that's coming up.
Thank you, Mr. Et cetera. Robert V. to be followed by Brandon Parham.
Hi, all. My name is Robert Vecchio. The topic I came to speak on today was tabled, so I will see you guys in a couple of weeks and make some room for the rest of these folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vecchio. Brandon Parham to be followed by Sharon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. My name is Brandon Perrin, and I'm a manager at Zen Healing and a resident of the City of West Hollywood. I'd like to address you regarding the future of Zen.
Mr. Perrin, you can finish your comment now, but we are going to hear that item as soon as we wrap this up, and there will be lots more discussion and other people speaking on it, but I don't want to cut you off. If you want to speak now,
okay,
go ahead, or you can wait
for a better
probably
time.
15 minutes and we'll be there.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you, sir. Sharon? All right. So, City Clerk, if other people come to that. Michael King to be followed by Marquita Thomas.
Good evening. I wanted to speak on the situation with our mayor, if I may. I met our mayor in 1988 during a gay rights demonstration. A friend's mother, wheelchair-bound, rolled her chair into an intersection in Santa Ana. When the local police ordered the crowd to disperse, Elaine Kaplan locked the wheels of her chair. She refused to leave until gay people like her son were afforded equal rights. Santa Ana police picked up her chair with her in it and carted both of them off. John became famous as a result of his defending all of those arrested. Some years later, he sat on our city's rent stabilization board, co-chairing the commission with my fellow condo board officer, Ina Bliss. Ina spoke highly of John and his demonstrated abilities on the commission, and I later cast my ballot for him in his first race. Much has happened in the intervening 18 years. Our mayor certainly seems to be experiencing some personal demons. We should offer him the opportunity to live with as little stress as possible. I wish him good health, and I wish him the ability to quickly deal with his personal troubles away from this dais. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. King. Marquita Thomas to be followed by Aaron Roberts.
My apologies. I know that you'll be speaking on this in a few minutes, but I'm not able to stay, so if you
Go
don't
ahead.
mind.
Yep, do it.
Good evening. My name is Marquita Thomas. I'm a resident of West Hollywood, and I'd like to make a comment about the cannabis ordinance. I just want to urge council to stand firm on the current ordinance and the process that you adopted. I feel like it undermines the city's credibility to claim that licenses were granted on a merit-based approach and then change the parameters of merit to get a different outcome. And we need to think about the impact on residents, as the number of cannabis companies in the city will already quadruple in a year's time. I think the council got it right the first time, and it shouldn't acquiesce to appease certain companies. If anything, the city should wait a year or two and then gauge the impact of the licenses currently allocated before allocating more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Aaron Roberts to be followed by Cole Ettman. We have about 4 or 5 more people.
Good evening, council members. My name is Erin Roberts. Unlike most of the speakers here tonight, I am actually not a resident of West Hollywood. I am a member of the Orange County Me Too movement. I am here tonight in solidarity with the LA Me Too movement and the LGBTQ community of West Hollywood. West Hollywood is not just a safe haven for the LGBTQ community of West Hollywood, it is also a safe haven for the LGBT community of surrounding areas. A lot of the LGBT community of Orange County comes to West Hollywood pretty frequently in order to find a safe haven and to find a welcoming community. In order to continue to make it a safe haven, it needs to not have people who continue to make that community unsafe, like Ed Buck. 1 dead black man is a tragedy, 2 is a pattern. And when you have people that are doing things that are associated like that, it needs to be incredibly thoroughly investigated because obviously there's something very wrong there. It is also wrong to be complicit in that by continuing to take campaign money. And believe me, the rest of the counties around you are watching, and we see that. Also, I want to speak on the situation with Mayor Duran. There's a statement that continues to be said tonight that there's a rush to judgment here. But I want to ask, how many men need to speak up in order for this to not be a rush to judgment? How many complaints need to be filed in order for you to take this seriously? There are so many men who have come forward, and their stories need to be taken seriously by this council and by this city. And to continue to not take them seriously is just a slap in the face to all of these men who are victims. And so I urge you to please take this seriously and to stand with these victims and to stand with these people in the Me Too movement. So I thank you very much for your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ettman, followed by John Fitzgerald Curtel.
Good evening, Cole Ettman, resident of City Council. I'm here because the council needs to take action and say enough is enough. We've heard from enough people. I was a I moved to this city and I wanted to get involved in politics and in government. And a certain current mayor hit me up. And I said, well, I'm not really interested because I want to talk to you about getting involved in the government. Well, don't worry, I just want to blank, blank, blank. And that's what he does. And everybody knows that. And there are young people who look up to our elected officials. And as a city, a progressive city, this should not be going on. It's cut and dry. The city council should take every step possible to censure, to revoke, to remove, or do whatever you can to make it as hard as possible for the mayor to stay in office. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ettman. Mr. Curtel, followed by Donna. I'm sorry, it says Kertel.
My name is John Fitzgerald.
I will give you a handwriting class afterwards.
That's fair enough.
John Fitzgerald Keitel, please.
And I am a resident, a proud resident of West Hollywood. And I just want to say, wow, Patricia Nell Warren, I had no idea. And given everything that's going on, I think it's worth just pausing for a moment. I stumbled across the front runner when I was a junior in college in my university bookstore and spirited the book away to my fraternity. And then read it under the covers, I kid you not, tearing each page up into many pieces as I read them and then distributing them in garbage cans all around campus. It was 1984. I was thrilled some 5 years later as a cafe owner here in West Hollywood when I got a call that Patricia Nell Warren was researching her new book and she wanted to come in and check out the scene. And she did. And she wrote Billy's Boy, which was the sequel to Front Runners, sort of as the Sixth Gallery, using that which is now Chi-Chi LaRue's, How Far We've Come, as sort of her inspiration. And so I canvassed for her when she ran for city council. So thank you, John. I had no idea. And it kind of blew me away. As you know, I've been a long-term resident here, and I've reached out to all of you over the past few months about ways we can maybe tap the peer-to-peer service apps to help our most at-risk, members of our most at-risk communities. And of course, I reached out to John Duran as well, and this was the Facebook Messenger exchange I got in reply. I asked him, after just checking in here about setting up that meeting we talked about, should I contact you through the city? He's like, nah, just message me here or text me. What's your text? Oh my God, OMG, you've had it for 25 years for booty calls. I've never had a booty call with you. Pause, as he obviously checks his contacts. Well, now I see why you haven't. You don't have my number.
Thank you, Mr. Keitel. Mr. Caver, to be followed by Wes Signaler.
Just want to let everyone know Ed Buck still hasn't been arrested. Just want to put that out there. Recently, I learned about the long-standing relationship between John Duran and Ed Buck. This raises a question: what contact has John Duran had with Ed Buck since the death of Jamel Moore? To be honest, to go further, what contact has any member of this council had with Ed Buck since the death of Jamel Moore? With the second death of a man in Ed Buck's apartment, we have to ask who's culpable for this. We have multiple allegations of trafficking in conjunction with kidnapping, sometimes even across state lines. We also have a pattern of unsolicited drug injections into black male bodies. Once again, I'm going to say this. Please do not remain complicit. This is serious. The only thing that we can do is to continue to press you to ask to make this stop. Ed Buck is a harmful threat to our community, to black men, and he needs to be brought to justice. I'd also ask that, again, there's nothing stopping you with those allegations for asking for a federal investigation. If Jackie Lacey doesn't want to deal with it and talk about it, go to a federal prosecutor. They right there, Hall of Justice. You ain't got to take a far trip. I'll pay your gas money. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sigmiller, be followed by Jonathan Grunin, our last speaker.
Good evening, council members. My name is Wes Sigmiller. I'm an organizer with Me Too March International. I'm also the LGBT liaison with Coalition to Abolish Slavery and Trafficking LA. And tonight I'm here representing Sex Workers Outreach Project. So part of my work with SWAP alongside the Justice for Jamel Coalition is going out into the neighborhood and basically putting on blast that we have an alleged serial killer still on our streets, just up the street on Laurel Avenue, still active on Grindr, Adam for Adam, Rentman, what have you. I mean, in the recent news reports, we see him out, like picking up these young dudes, and it's like all out in the open, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm tired of spending the last month, 2 months, however long I've been involved in this coalition, which has been on for upwards of 18 months now. I'm tired of this person, Ed Buck's name, coming out of my mouth. And the reason why, as I'm a former sex worker, I might not look like Ed Buck's MO, I'm a white man, but it could have been me. It could have been anybody that ended up dead on Laurel Avenue. And so the reason I have to put myself out there, which is so taxing and really unsafe for me, is because Ed Buck comes out of my mouth because it doesn't come out of John Duran's mouth. I'm a friend of John Duran. He actually invited SWAP LA onto his radio program a few weeks ago. I saw for myself that John Duran, you know, can be an ally potentially of sex workers. He understands the dynamics of people in survival economies being policed, being marginalized, not being believed when they experience serious forms of violence. John Duran understands these things. So I was really confused when he even proposed that we set up, you know, a sex worker task force here in the city of West Hollywood, which is completely appropriate. And yet he hasn't spoken out about Ed Buck. As a personal friend of John, if he's listening right now, I'd like to implore him to please do the right thing, step down from city council, take accountability for your own misbehavior, but your silence on Ed Buck is violence, and we won't take it anymore. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wes. Our final speaker is Jonathan Grunin. And then after that, I would like Lieutenant Mulder to come and address the status of the investigation into the alleged, what happened on Laurel Avenue. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jonathan. First off, I'm here today because first off, I wanted to share my story about how I experienced in the workplace sexual harassment to the point where my employment was actually terminated. I moved here from New York 5 years ago. I was working for an organization doing political fundraising. I was really excited to make a difference. I ended up having a fundraising meeting with a gentleman who, during the meeting, grabbed my face, makes out with me. I was very uncomfortable. I left shooken up, went back to work, told my manager. My manager said, "Did you get the gift?" I said, "No." He said, you need to go for a second meeting. He knew exactly what was going to happen to me if I went for a second meeting. I refused. I was terminated for insubordination within a week. The reason why I share this story is because I know too well how people in certain places of power can affect the people under them, the people that are supposed to look up to them. When I heard about the story today, why we're here, my first initial reaction was, again, this isn't news. I mean, I'm from New York. In New York, we have a term, it's called olds. So how is this happening again? How was no action taken beforehand? And I have a few friends that work in entertainment, and they told me, they were like, you know, in the wake of the Bryan Singer story, in the wake of the Harvey Weinstein story, in the wake of all these different accounts, they knew that certain talent that they represented, they would never send on a meeting to these people. And why would they not send them on a meeting to these people? Because they knew exactly what was going to happen to the talent that they represent if they entered a room with Harvey Weinstein. And they knew that it was never worth it for that individual to be put in that type of danger. What I see here is that we have people that we want to be part of the political process here in West Hollywood, especially young people. How are they supposed to be part of that political process when they know exactly what's going to happen to them when they are to be in a meeting with their mayor? So please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lieutenant Mulder. Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members and members of the public tonight. My name is Bill Mulder. I'm the acting captain at West Hollywood Sheriff Station, and I guess you wanted an update on the case. Again, from the last time I was up here speaking, there really haven't been many new developments, although there are some new people they've identified that they want to interview. So currently, they're making arrangements to conduct those interviews. I talked to the homicide lieutenant who oversees the investigation just today, and that's what they had indicated. We're also still waiting for the toxicology reports to come back, and that's kind of where we are currently at the, with this investigation.
Okay. Did anyone have any questions for?
I had one. There's a gentleman who spoke earlier about referring this to federal authorities because he believes that there is some activity that occurred that involved crossing state lines. Do you know if the FBI or federal authorities are at all investigating this matter?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're involved at this point in terms of with our homicide bureau in this investigation, and certainly as the investigation develops, that's part of something that if they are investigators see that there's a nexus to federal crimes involved, they would probably bring in our federal partners in this. But at this point, I'm not aware that is happening.
Can you check on that and let us know?
I will.
Thank you.
And I have one follow-up about overdose deaths in our city. I'm not asking you to tell us, unless you know, that there have been more since January, but it's my sense, given the description of the crimes that have, or the alleged crimes that have come forward, that the number of overdoses continues to be startling. And so perhaps as part of what will be a larger effort, we can bring more light to that, if not tonight, but going forward, because I think many of us don't have a full understanding of how that has accelerated in our community.
Yeah, that's correct. And you know, we since certainly since the death of Timothy Dean, we've started to look at least for this station, a different way of investigating these or addressing these. So since that time, there have been overdose deaths. We've actually sent out detectives on those to do a preliminary investigation. That has not been the process in the past for the department, but we're doing that now at our station.
All right, thank you very much. If there's no other questions. We are finished with public comment. I want to thank the public for coming and engaging with us so directly. Next up, we have the council member comments. Lauren Meister, would you like to begin?
Yes, I would. Thank you. First, I would like to ask our transportation engineer to look at Fuller Avenue between Santa Monica Boulevard and Fountain to see if to look at if we do need a crosswalk there. It sounds like it's a dangerous street, and since it is by Plummer Park, it would make sense to me that we make sure that we don't have people speeding through that street. I'd also like to ask social services to look at Saturday, Sunday dial-a-ride to see if that's something that's feasible. Regarding attendance, I attended the Southern California Council of Governments joint meeting of policy committees and the Community Economic and Human Development Committee meeting as the West Side City's COG representative. One thing that I would like staff to do is to get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation on economic demographic trends, which they called Who Are We Planning For? One of the interesting things that came out of that was that in the next 15 years, 65% of our region's population growth will be age 65 plus, and so that's something that we need to be looking at as we plan both social services and housing. On consent calendar, item 2D, the animal grooming ordinance, I just want to ask staff to make sure to get the latest version of the ordinance to the City of Beverly Hills, Councilmember Koretz, and LA County. They are considering adopting regulations, and it would be good for them to have the latest one. On 2T, evaluation of traffic signal synchronization, I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem D'Amico for co-sponsoring that item. We've had some concerns that syncing has not made traffic any better, so we want to make sure that we know what's going on, and anyone who comes into WeHo will tell you that when they're in Beverly Hills or LA, as they reach West Hollywood borders, that's when traffic comes to a stop. So we need to look at that. On the robo-garage item, I just want to make sure that we also look at costs and try to do a comparison of the maintenance costs to see how they compare to a standard parking garage. Lastly, I'd like to briefly comment on the issues raised by the public. I appreciate all who have come out to speak and support one another. The issues that you've raised are serious and should not be taken lightly. From what I've been reading and hearing, if accurate, the mayor's behavior is not behavior I would consider appropriate for anyone, let alone a public official representing this city. As I've said before, though, I am not a judge or jury. This is very hard because I do believe in due process, and as far as I know, that has not yet happened. Therefore, I expect the city attorney to advise the council, all of us together in one room. I'd like the city attorney to bring back an agendized item as soon as possible that outlines the issues, the city's responsibilities and liabilities, and potential remedies. As part of that item, I'd like the city manager to bring in an ethics expert to assess the current situation, as well as establish guidelines for moving forward. This is a time for us to put our city first, not our egos, and not our personal political ambitions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meister. Councilmember Heilman?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I want to first report that I attended the West Side Council of Governments meeting on February 14th, Valentine's Day. We had a good meeting. I also wanted to request, as Councilmember Meister did, that we follow up on the complaint regarding Fuller and whether it's a crosswalk or a stop sign there. Clearly, that is an area that is a problematic area. I also want to thank everyone who has come out tonight and who has previously spoken out about the issues that we heard about tonight and heard about previously concerning harassment. I apologize if you think I'm not paying attention to you when you're speaking at the podium. Those of you who come here regularly know I've had several eye surgeries. The location of the lights right there makes it very difficult for me to stare at the podium, but I am paying attention to everything that is being said. I appreciate that the people who've come forward both tonight and through the last couple of weeks have come forward out of a great deal of concern for the city and a great deal of love for the city. I also appreciate that most of the people who've spoken out acknowledge our mayor's many contributions to the city, as well as his many contributions to the LGBT community and to people living with HIV and AIDS. Of course, those contributions, as significant as they are in no way an excuse for misbehavior, and nor is the theme of sexual liberation an excuse for sexual harassment or sexual misbehavior. There is and should not be a different standard within the LGBT community. People within the LGBT community have a right to be free from sexual harassment. They have a right to be free from being hit upon by somebody in power. And they certainly have a right not to be shamed if they come forward and complain about sexual harassment by anyone. Having said all of that, I agree with Councilmember Meister. We don't have this agendized, but I think it is important that we have an agendized item where we can talk about moving forward with somebody else in charge at the dais. I think it is important that as part of our healing process that we have somebody as mayor who we all on the council have confidence in, and given John's current health issues as well as the controversy, I think it is important for us to move forward with somebody else in charge. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Horvath?
Thank you. First, I do wish our mayor a swift return to good health. I know that he is recovering, and I wish him a swift return to good health. On item 2I, I wanted to comment that I'm glad we're exploring cutting-edge technology, but there are some neighborhoods, especially on the east side, that have been asking for lights for a while. So while I understand this report indicates it will be a 2-year pilot program, I want to make sure we're moving quickly, especially for those neighborhoods that have long been waiting for lights in their neighborhood. With item 2R, I'm very glad to see that the Dear Harvey production will be coming back for Harvey Milk Day this year. And I know in the report it was likened to the recurrence of the Vagina Monologues, which recently took place. It was a wonderful production, and congratulations to everyone who was a part of it. I'm glad to see that Dear Harvey will also return, and thank you to our staff who are bringing this forward. Since our last council meeting, I represented the city at the Clean Power Alliance board meeting with discussion about new projects with Clean Power Alliance that are creating green jobs. I wish the cameras were here tonight to tell the great story of West Hollywood moving to 100% renewable clean energy by 2019, not the state goal of 2045. I know they're here to cover other things, but it is worth mentioning that we are blazing a trail and many other issues, and I'm very proud of our community for the way that we do that work. Plummer Park, I participated in the Plummer Park subcommittee meeting with Councilmember Meister to talk about future plans for our park. I also represented the city at the Sanitation District meeting. I participated in the West Hollywood Chambers meeting and board annual meeting and board installation. I had a lot of fun at the Valentine's Day senior dance, and thank you to everyone who asked me to dance. It was a very nice time. And again, congratulations to all who participated in the Vagina Monologues this past weekend. I thought it was a particularly powerful production, and many relevant issues to be addressed in the community, as we've heard here tonight. I also would like to make some comments addressing some of the recent headline issues. As you know, I've already made a statement on my personal social media, and as I have previously stated, and as my life work shows, I condemn in the strongest terms sexual harassment and assault in all of its forms. No matter whether it is perpetrated against a woman or a man or a gender nonconforming person, such behavior is wrong and it is unacceptable. As a community, we must work to root out the ways in which such behavior has become pervasive in our culture. Hearing multiple similar stories of harassment and inappropriate behavior, as well as the victim blaming and shaming that has taken place in response to these reported incidents, has been extremely upsetting. As a community, we simply cannot attack people who choose to come forward. It's instead our responsibility to create a safe space for people to confidentially report, to conduct thorough and impartial investigations, to allow the opportunity for justice to be served, and to take any corrective action necessary to address wrongdoing or gaps in policy or procedure. To that end, I am glad that Councilmember Heilman has brought forward item 2V tonight so we can continue doing all we can to eliminate sexual harassment in the workplace and to require the organizations and businesses with which we contract to do the same. And I welcome the suggestion that was made tonight for us to always and continually ask that we improve our sexual harassment policies. We should always be adopting current best practices. I have walked various neighborhoods in our community, and I've heard firsthand the embarrassment and frustration many people are feeling, seeing our city's name in recurring headlines about sexual harassment. I share your embarrassment and frustration. I've also been in close contact with our city manager and city attorney about these issues because protecting our city has been and remains of the utmost importance to me. It is for this reason that I believe it is time for our mayor to step away from his role on the council. When recent allegations of harassment by state legislators took place in Sacramento, elected leaders who were accused took a leave of absence from their roles to allow thorough and independent investigations to be conducted. Some were cleared of charges through an investigative process. Others were not, but all took responsibility for their actions and faced consequences in one way or another. The same should be the case in West Hollywood, and I believe item 2P on our agenda tonight starts that conversation, and I thank my colleagues also for their additional suggestions on how we can productively move forward. Our city cannot focus on the work of the people when we have to address new and numerous allegations of sexual misconduct, including whether our mayor used his title to solicit sexual favors. Not only has this been a distraction from the daily work that our residents and community members expect and rely on us to do, but it is also a diversion from the gravely serious homicide investigations that are ongoing in our city. To that end, I have been in contact with the families of both Jamel Moore and Timothy Dean. They continue to grieve the profound losses they've experienced as the result of the deaths of these two men. Every day that Miss Nixon wakes up, her baby is still gone, and every evening that Miss Campbell goes to sleep, she longs to reach out to her brother one more time. No one should have to live with the pain these families are facing, nor should anyone live in fear that they could be the next person to receive such a call. That is why I asked our acting captain at our last meeting about what is being done to ensure that this doesn't happen again, and why I offered our city's resources to support the full and thorough investigation of the facts. Just as it shouldn't matter whether a victim is male or female, neither should it matter whether they are rich or poor, gay or straight, black or white. We cannot allow the stories of Jamel or Timothy to be forgotten or to allow these investigations to be conducted imperfectly. To that end, I will share these words from Timothy Dean's sister. We are seeking answers to our brother's death. Timothy was one fun-loving brother. He loved life, was very funny and giving. No one was a stranger. He just made you feel welcome. He loved to smile. Tim went out of his way to make you feel at home and would show you the most amazing time. He and I share the same birthday month, March. I wanted to be able to call him next month and say, "Happy birthday, brother." My family is grieving the loss of our brother. We love him, gone too soon. We are asking that you please make sure his case gets a thorough investigation with honesty and integrity. My family won't stop until we get answers to why our brother ended up dead at this man's house, and that's what we expect.
Thank you, Ms. Horvath. I just have a couple of quick comments. The first, for the city manager, can you come back to the next meeting with a proposal for outreach to young men of color, specifically African-American men, and the nexus with drug use and HIV? I think it would make sense for our city to look carefully at the kind of work we're doing at night when our city population swells, and to make sure that people can engage with the services as possible. And I think our HIV services community is certainly well equipped to help with that. I wanted to also mention, I appreciate my colleagues asking to bring back an item at our next agenda to have further discussions. And I, of course, have made my own statement last week regarding our friend and our current mayor, John Duran. And I think it's extraordinarily serious, and everyone who spoke, and I wrote down your name because I think it's important to just write your name and see your name written, and want to thank you for speaking so carefully about how we can move on. And I guess I just want to say one more thing. We are part-time council members. I have a 10-hour-a-day job. I go to work at 6:30 in the morning, and I leave work at 5, and I come here, and it's not an excuse, but I just want to say that I believe all of us make an effort every day to do what's right. For me, I want to be as careful as I can to not add to any problems. I don't want to make it worse. I want to let the process proceed. I want to make the right next step every time. And I just want to say, and I affirm my belief that justice will be served in the case that we've been discussing this evening. Mr. Moore, so tragically sad at such a young age to have died, and anyway, I just think that if you can believe that we are doing all we can and assist us to do more the way you have been, the way you did this evening, it's appreciated certainly by me. So with that, the city manager's report.
I'm going to be very brief tonight, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. Just a couple of announcements. One, we're once again pushing out our Ring video security product rebate program. To access the rebate, visit West Hollywood's website, search Smart City, and we're going to be issuing a $100 rebate for the first 200 qualifying residents. The city clerk is doing another registration and education pop-up. It'll be at Farmers Market on February 25th. That's a Monday from 11 to 1 o'clock. In regards to the request from the Mayor Pro Tem to do some outreach in terms of drug prevention, I'll work with social services and the Sheriff's Department. If we're going to be rushing something before the next meeting, it'll probably be imperfect, but we'll also spend some time a little bit longer creating a system that does a much better job with the outreach, but we will push forward with that. Yes, sir.
I might suggest that we look at social media and some of the websites that are being used and apps that are being used. I think those are the places where we would want to target information.
Excellent. We'll do that. Thank you.
All right, City Clerk, can you please report on the fiscal impact of the consent calendar?
Yes, the fiscal impact with the addition of item 4A and the removal of item 20 is $4,596,331 in expenditures, $900,000 in potential revenue, and $4,299 in waived fees.
Thank you. May I have a motion to move? And it's been moved by Councilmember Horvath and seconded by Councilmember Meister.
I just need to disclose on item 2S, that is the approval of the Transgender and One Pride grant funding, that I serve on the board of one of the grantees. I have no financial interest in the organization, but I wanted to disclose that I'm a board member of Outright International.
Thank you, Councilmember Heilman. If you'd mark your vote. All right. The consent calendar has passed. So we're going to take a short pause so that the media and others who wish to move on can do so, and then we're going to take up item
3B.
3B, thank you. This is how your friends help when you don't know what's next. All right. Yes. We did. We are moving to item 3B.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. I'm Dimitri, the city engineer, and tonight the City Council will consider amendments to the city's municipal code to create a wireless facility application review fee and another fee to purchase no parking signs for various work in the public right-of-way, and an amendment to the fee resolution for this fiscal year, 2018-2019, to add these two fees. So the very first fee that we are...
One moment, I skipped an important thing. We are opening a public hearing.
Yvonne's going to tell us how it was.
And Yvonne is going to tell us how it was noticed.
And it was noticed as required by law.
Thank you. And everything you already said is now in the public hearing.
Yes, so this is a public hearing, and it has been noticed properly. And the very first fee we are proposing tonight is in the amount of $2,493 to charge wireless telecommunication carriers for each application they turn in to install one of their equipments on one of our city facilities or infrastructure. It could be a city-owned building. It could be a street light pole. That amount was calculated to be $2,493 at an 80% cost recovery rate, because right now, as we speak, the engineering division is charging only 80% recovery rate on all of our fees, and that recovery rate will go up on July 1st to 100% recovery rate, which will end up being $3,116 on July 1st. And once again, I'll remind you, this is to review the application material, which typically includes the encroachment permit application itself, as well as all of the engineering drawings and plans and various structural engineering studies to show us in the engineering division that it's okay, for example, to install a wireless antenna on one of our street light poles.
Okay.
This also includes the time it will take for our staff to go out there in the field and inspect the work while it's taking place.
Okay. And Yvonne, we have a couple of speakers? Okay. Michael Cintron to be followed by Diana Rojas. I'm assuming it's not...
Rojas.
Rojas.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said Diana Ross.
Diana Ross. Oh, my God.
Hello, honorable council members. My name is Michael Cintron. I'm here on behalf of Crown Castle. We're one of the nation's largest telecommunications infrastructure providers. We're also one of the few companies that are affected by the application fees proposed in this agenda item. State and federal law require that any fees related to small wireless facilities are objectively reasonable, and that they are a reasonable approximation of the cost to review the applications. Even the actual costs need to be objectively reasonable. I do not believe that the costs proposed here are reasonable. The city proposes a fee for these applications at $2,493 for 4 hours of review and 4 hours of inspection. Broken down, this is $311.63 an hour. Calculated out over the course of a year, this equals a yearly salary of $648,180. Even the fully burdened hourly rate stated by the finance department, even at the fully burdened hourly rate stated by the finance department, this fee is not reasonable. I also do not believe that 4 hours of review time is needed to review these applications, given the fact that the city has adopted or is adopting design guidelines. If we design to these guidelines, only a quick review of an hour or two should be needed. 4 hours to inspect a small attachment to a utility pole or a streetlight is a high estimate as well. I respectfully request that the City Council delay the adoption of these fees to a further date to allow for further investigation into the actual costs of review of these applications, and to allow these costs to comply with state and federal law. At the very least, I would like to see the Finance Department's estimated cost breakdown. The fee justification provided does not contain it. Lastly, I want to thank Mr. Dimitri here, your city engineer. He's been a pleasure to work with, and I look forward to continuing to work with him. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir. Diana Rojas is our last speaker.
Good evening. My name is Diana Rojas. I am with Verizon Wireless. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak with you tonight. Similarly to my predecessor, I am here tonight. Verizon Wireless is concerned with the fee that's been proposed, the $2,493 fee. As I'm sure that we're all aware, recently the FCC adopted a ruling September last year regarding infrastructure and streamlined deployment of wireless. Part of that ruling that went into effect on January 14th of this year, it provided a presumptive fee basically of $1,000 for non-recurring fees for new poles, meaning a non-co-location, a new pole. Having said that, we appreciate the opportunity, having been able to work with staff to review the proposed MLA, which I know has been postponed to next month, but this fee schedule and attachment C to the staff report, the fee justification, we received it, with the 72-hour notice. We reviewed it, and the amounts that are in there, basically, the attachment provides this estimate of 4 hours for each application and 4 hours of inspecting the pole, but there's no real breakdown of what the approximation of that work entails. Specifically, there's no cost study or other information factually to demonstrate that these are the actual costs that are actually being incurred by the city. Moreover, the city left out important information that is it going to take these individual steps for every individual pole, regardless if a carrier deploys or not, whether it's Verizon or another competitor or another carrier. Additionally, what specific line item work is involved in this 4 hours? Like what exactly is being done and at what rate? And last but not least, what is the amount of time associated with each individual one of those functions being performed during that? So as such, Verizon would like to respectfully request that we postpone this so that we have an opportunity to really dig deep and figure out what that actual number entails and what the work involved with that by providing a cost study. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? Councilmember Horvath.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, I assume that we did do a cost study or a fee study, but it seems like that is unclear based on some of the comments that we just heard. So can you speak to that?
Yes, we did, and it was very detailed study that was performed by the finance department. They included in this rate a combination of the direct and indirect cost for city staff to conduct city business. So this is the fully burdened rate.
Oh, okay. And so do you have information about how we arrived at this number?
Yes, absolutely. I have a very detailed study that I received from finance, and I shared it with other city staff during the review of this staff report over the last 2 weeks.
And is that study available for anyone who's
Yes,
who
of
would like
course.
to see how we arrived at this number?
Yes, absolutely.
If I may, the Department of Finance every year updates the fee schedule for the city of West Hollywood. This was a new program, so they had to do a comprehensive analysis on this. So that work was done, and those numbers were included as part of the justification for the fee.
Councilmember Heilman.
Yeah, apparently the speakers believe that they haven't had enough time to review that and give input on it. Since item 2O is coming back to us at a later date, will you have the opportunity to meet with them between now and when 2O comes back? And if you feel it's appropriate, make adjustments to this amount?
I will gladly meet with anyone who reaches out to me, but at this point in time, we feel that this fee is justified, and we have a study that details exactly how we arrived at this number. I also would like to address what Mr. Cintron said. Why are we spending 4 hours on the review? This is an average number we had to come up with because oftentimes there are several submittals made. Sometimes they don't get it right the very first time, so we make comments, they submit a second time, sometimes they submit a third time, and it adds up very quickly to at least 4 hours of staff time.
Okay, I don't doubt you, but if after you meet with Mr. Citron or Ms. Rojas, if you feel an adjustment is necessary or appropriate, you can come back and we can change the fees at a later date.
I actually wrote specifically in the report, on page 2, paragraph 2, staff will track the time it takes to review applications and inspect sites, so the fee can be reviewed and updated as necessary.
And it's also possible that as this becomes more routine and the submittals are more standardized, it may reduce the staff time involved in the future.
Yes, that should be the case.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion? We'll close the public hearing.
There's one more fee we
Right,
didn't
about
get
the
to.
no parking signs?
Yes.
Does anyone have any questions about those?
$2 per sign, that's it.
Noted. All right, we are moving forward with the recommendation to adopt the resolution. We're closing the public hearing. Now we're going to take a vote. Thank you very much. Motion passes. We will now go to item 5B. Nope, that's not right. 4.
You can always ask Yvonne.
Yes, Yvonne, what's the next item?
Item 5B.
5B.
4A was moved to consent and 5A was tabled.
Oh, I see. Commission appointments. I thought the cannabis was next.
Yes.
Councilman Harmon, are you ready to make your commission
I am.
appointments?
I am
Okay.
going to make one appointment at this time. I've interviewed some really fantastic people. At this point, I am going to appoint Andrew Reback to the Human Services Commission. The other appointments I'm going to defer.
All right. Congratulations, Mr. Reback.
Oh, and he's here. Congratulations.
Item 6A, Cannabis Use Ordinance Amendment regarding temporary cannabis users, an update on the cannabis business license screening application process. Thanks, you guys, for hanging out. I didn't think it would take quite this long, but now you'll get the whole show. When you are ready.
Good evening, Council. So I just wanted to re-mention what Paul had said earlier so that everybody is very clear on what we are discussing tonight. So the Council will consider recommendations number 1 and number 2 in the staff report because those are time-sensitive items. But we'll table the discussion of recommendation number 3 and alternatives 1 and 2 until a future date. For everybody's information, recommendations 1 and 2, which we are going to be covering, allow the existing 4 medical dispensaries in the city to continue to sell adult use cannabis until December 31st, 2019. That's the end of this year. And recommendation 3 and alternatives 1 and 2 concern whether the City Council should increase the total number of licenses to be issued, including whether to grandfather the existing 4 medical dispensaries and provide them with permanent adult use licenses. In addition, I'm going to provide a few updates since we last brought an item forward regarding cannabis in December. At that meeting on December 17th, like I said, we provided you with a few updates, and these are ones subsequent to that. The day after that council meeting, December 18th, staff posted the average scores for each application on the city's website, including a list of the top scoring applicants in each category. On February 7th of this year, the city's application evaluation committee met at a public meeting, took public comment from interested individuals, and made a final determination adopting those scores. With that action of the evaluation committee, the scoring and ranking process has now concluded. And at this time, the top ranking applicants are now free to move forward in securing a business license from the city. As a part of the December 17th City Council meeting, staff also presented information showing that in 2019, this year, there may potentially be a gap in adult use cannabis sales in the city. At that time, staff believed that each of the existing 4 medical dispensaries' temporary permits to sell adult use cannabis would expire in March of 2019, and that it was likely none of the new adult use cannabis retailers would be operational by that time. Since December, staff has been notified that the state extended each of the temporary adult use licenses for the 4 medical dispensaries until various dates in late July. Staff has also spoken with the State Bureau of Cannabis Control about the potential of allowing these 4 businesses to continue to sell adult-use cannabis through the end of 2019 with state provisional licenses. The state has indicated that they are amenable to this. So with this in mind, action staff is recommending, as part of recommendations 1 and 2, would direct staff to extend the adult use licenses for the existing 4 medical dispensaries until December 31st of this year, and would make the code changes necessary for that to occur. Lastly, I have one additional item that doesn't require council action, but I wanted to provide you an update on. In January of this year, the state's formal cannabis regulations were posted, which included a change that is problematic for the city's consumption lounges. The new state regulations do not allow for the sale of non-cannabis products within cannabis stores, which was a change from the draft regulations. This is problematic for the city's consumption lounges because they plan to sell non-cannabis food and drinks as a part of their operations. Staff has met with the State Bureau of Cannabis Control several times, as well as several state legislators, about this change and the importance of having non-cannabis products in consumption lounges. All have been supportive of this potential change, and specifically the potential of creating a new consumption lounge license at the state level. This new license would also allow for other differences between the current regulations and the new consumption lounge regulations. Staff will continue to work on this item for the foreseeable future and anticipates that legislation will be introduced in the near future so that consumption lounges can have separate regulations, including serving non-cannabis products. Lastly, staff is planning to have a meeting with the selected applicants within the coming weeks to provide an update on various items. Once a date and location has been finalized, we will inform the applicants. I'm available for any questions, as well as Lauren Langer. Thank you.
Any questions before we hear from members of the public? All right. We have several speakers. We're going to power through them. Morgan Sokol to be followed by Brandon Parham.
Hi, my name is Morgan Sokol, and I am the Senior Vice President of Government Affairs at MedMen. I'm also a resident of West Hollywood. Today, MedMen West Hollywood serves close to 5,000 patients and customers a week, employs 58 people who receive competitive wages and full health benefits, and are members of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, and the store contributes $2.3 million in sales taxes a year. In order to continue to service our patients who have been coming to our location for many years because of the unique product selection that we offer to help with their ailments and pain management, we need to continue to sell both adult use and medical cannabis. The economics of the marijuana industry in Southern California have changed, as have the state regulations, such that medical and adult use retail are co-located to be the most successful, and the state no longer differentiates between medical and adult use for any other part of the supply chain. We ask the council to enable the existing 4 compliant operators to continue to operate and to gain permanent adult use retail licenses. Creating a certain process for doing so is imperative to give our employees assurance as well as the rest of our business. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Brandon Parham to be followed by Sharon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. My name is Brandon Parham. I'm a manager at Zen Healing and a resident here at West Hollywood. I'd like to address you in regarding the future of Zen and the other 3 original cannabis operators in West Hollywood. At the start of West Hollywood's licensing process, we brought to your attention our concerns that the licensing criteria were not conducive to the survival of local businesses like Zen that have been servicing the West Hollywood cannabis industry since its humble beginnings. In good faith, we did our best to contribute the best application we could produce. We were not able to score within the top 8, and we know there was a lot of thought as put into the selection process. With all due respect, we feel that we still have something to offer the community, and furthermore, we feel that to deprive the community of our services would be doing the city a disservice. We have responsibly operated in West Hollywood for 15 years. We have faithfully served our patients and become a staple in their lives. We have devoted countless hours to building a thriving cannabis industry in the city and state, and we have contributed time and resources to the betterment of our community. Furthermore, in the light of recent changes to the California state licensing structure, specifically the combining of adult use and medicinal retail licenses, we feel that it would be reasonable to acknowledge that some city-level changes are necessary to harmonize with the recent developments that have occurred at the state level. Thank you for listening to my comments. I hope that you take our history of compliance and humble service into consideration and do not allow us to close our doors after 15 years of service in this beautiful city that I call home. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Sharon, to be followed by Joseph Boltman.
Hey, how's it going? Good evening, council members. My name is Charn Andreas, and I'm a resident of West Hollywood. Thanks for the opportunity to address the situation with the existing cannabis sellers of West Hollywood. I've been a customer of Zen Healing for over 10 years. When I started shopping there, I was considered a patient, but like so many others, I no longer renew my doctor's recommendation. And because of that, I may no longer be able to visit the place that I've been patronizing for almost a decade. If Zen and other original pioneers in West Hollywood are not included in the adult use licensing, they will be wiped out within time. It may not be in a month or a year, but they will categorically be wiped out. Zen has been dedicated, hardworking community member for as long as I can remember, and it seems confusing to me why they will not be allowed to go on to the next phase of regulated cannabis business in West Hollywood. Throughout their long history, Zen has encountered numerous challenges at the city and state level, and they have skillfully navigated these obstacles without ever failing to consistently supply the people of West Hollywood, such as myself, and with much of their needed cannabis supplies. I mean, honestly, they've been here for over 15 years, and they deserve to stay. Like, there's no reason why they should, be booted out because of this. Thank you for your time and consideration. I know this will not be quickly resolved, but it is something I feel strongly about, and I hope that you keep this in mind when you decide the future of Zen, their patients, and customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andreas. Joseph Boltman, to be followed by Scott Schmidt.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Boltman, and I'm an operations associate at Medman West Hollywood. I've worked there for over a year. I'm also a proud member of UFCW Local 770. This dispensary has a long history of lawfully serving individuals who needed cannabis to meet critical medical needs. I urge you to extend the expiration date for our licensing. Expanding to lawful adult use sales has bolstered our ability to serve our traditional medical clients as well as our local consumers. In fact, without the ability to lawfully serve the adult use market, the viability of this dispensary is very much in doubt. Many of us who work at MedMen are residents of West Hollywood, and all of us feel that we have become integrated into the West Hollywood community. Not only is our shop an established provider of medicinal and recreational cannabis for the city, but my coworkers and I make every effort to direct customers to neighboring businesses as well. Our shop and its workers are a valuable asset to our community. Furthermore, in the time since MedMen West Hollywood submitted its application for an adult use license, our working conditions have dramatically improved. Last December, our union and MedMen agreed to a new collective bargaining agreement. Our contract includes important protections against discrimination in addition to guaranteeing outstanding wages and fully employer-paid health care. Above all, we now have a powerful voice at work. My coworkers and I are gravely concerned that if MedMen ultimately loses its ability to serve adult use consumers, our jobs and livelihoods could be at risk. Such city action threatens to undermine our voice and the very concept of labor peace, which the California legislature included in the state law. It could also displace hundreds of workers, and I urge you to be mindful of that. I ask your support in extending the temporary use permits of the 4 currently operating adult use cannabis retail businesses until January 1st, 2020, to allow such time to develop a path for those entities to obtain permanent licenses. And we look forward to working with you at a later date for the grandfathering.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boltman. Scott Schmidt to be followed by Rachel Torres.
Hi, Scott Schmidt, resident of West Hollywood. And I want to start by saying something you haven't heard a lot tonight. Congratulations, you got it right. The process that the city set up, the work that staff put into it, as well as the Application Evaluation Commission, is commendable, and it's something that's been, that other cities have modeled their processes on. And so even though folks aren't happy with the outcome of the process, we should give ourselves a pat on the back for really taking the lead on it and doing it well, and doing it in a way that is, that was trying to be an objective and fair and away from all the process of influences that are alleged around whatever the issues are. So good job, and thank you for that. Having followed the discussions, I know that there's two things that are important when it comes to the adult use retail sale on a temporary basis. One is the continuity of having the adult use sales, and two is the revenue, especially with Measure Y coming up, that the city will have. And so it makes sense to extend those. At the same time, we need to be cognizant of the residents. You know, the residents were sold on this, that there would be limits to the number of businesses that would be operating at any one time. And therefore, if we can find a way to cap it at 8 at any one time, and so maybe instead of going all the way to December, let's extend it now until the end of July, and then maybe another 3 months until we've had 4 of the new businesses open up. And that way we make sure that we don't overburden the residents in this process, as well as maintaining the continuity of the adult use and getting the revenue in, which I know is important to us. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schmidt. Rachel Torres to be followed by Lauren Banuelos.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Rachel Torres. I'm the Deputy Political and Civil Rights Director with UFCW Local 770. We represent over 32,000 members, including West Hollywood cannabis workers who live, work, and play in the city they love. We wish to thank the council for taking initiative in moving the legalization of cannabis forward. We stood with this city on medical marijuana 20 years ago for the protection of patients living with HIV/AIDS, and we stood with you in 2016 on Prop 64. Because of our work, cannabis workers have moved from an underground economy to a place where workers have health care, living wages, and a voice on the job. In West Hollywood, as Joey mentioned, we have one of the strongest collective bargaining agreements, not just in the city, not just in the state, but in the country. We agree with Selection Committee member Lynn Lyman, who drafted Prop 64 with us, which shows a preference to allow pre-existing lawful dispensaries to continue operating. We wish to see the city's industry expand and to protect and honor the efforts of dispensaries that have been lawfully doing business in West Hollywood for several years. Depriving their businesses of the ability to continue in the adult use market will hinder growth and hurt jobs. We support staff's recommendations to extend the expiration date, and we look forward to working with you to address the grandfathering issue at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. Lauren Banuelos will be followed by Don Duncan.
Good evening, and thank you for your time tonight. My name is Lauren Banuelos, and I am the general manager of the West Hollywood MedMen store. I recently left my 8-year career with Target to stand behind the mission and vision of MedMen. I'm beyond proud of what I do every day and the people I have the opportunity to work with and connect with in the city of West Hollywood. I'm here to speak tonight about how critical I think MedMen WeHo is to this community and the role it plays in the lives of our employees. To begin, losing MedMen's West Hollywood location's license would threaten the livelihood of the 58 knowledgeable, passionate, and dedicated MedMen employees that I lead every day. Our employees receive a very competitive compensation package, full paid health benefits, and have stock options in the company. They're true owners in our business. If MedMen West Hollywood were to lose the license, they would no longer be able to work in West Hollywood and with the patients in our community they know best and have grown to love. I can't express enough how this would threaten our livelihood. Second, MedMen has been serving patients in the West Hollywood community for several years now. We truly are a critical part of this community. Many patients have come to depend on MedMen to meet their medical needs. They have grown accustomed to working with our staff and utilizing our product line to meet their needs. Losing our license would disrupt these patients' ability to receive important care, the MedMen products that have become accustomed to, and the employees that regularly assist them in meeting their needs. In addition, we see an average of over 5,000 people a week. Losing our license will not only impact our business, but our neighboring businesses. Our traffic supports their livelihood as well. Lastly, we strongly believe that it is critical that West Hollywood residents be able to easily access cannabis to meet their needs. Splitting adult use and medical sales would directly threaten the ability of residents to access cannabis, as in the current legal environment, it is very difficult to operate a medical-only store. We know that the city of West Hollywood does not want its residents to face challenges in accessing cannabis, and hope you consider MedMen's critical role in ensuring access for the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Benuelos. Don Duncan will be followed by Mr. Anthony Ponzio.
Good evening, council members. My name is Don Duncan. I'm the founder and president of Los Angeles Patients and Caregivers Group, known in the application process by our business name of OVEST. I recently spoke to the scoring committee to congratulate them, and I hope this council understands the very big and very difficult job they did in scoring so many applications on so many criteria. And we certainly do not propose that any right or privilege won during that process be denied to any applicant. However, we hope that the City Council will continue to discuss the issue, because if the goal of the ordinance, as indicated in the language, was to preserve the existing medical cannabis dispensaries, we have not yet done so. In this current model, in the current state in California, a medical cannabis recommendation is no longer required in order to obtain cannabis for medical use. You can be a legal patient treating chronic pain, HIV/AIDS, cancer, or any other serious condition, but not require a doctor's recommendation. And in that new context, a business that is limited to serving only patients with medical cannabis recommendations is simply not economically viable. That does not mean, by the way, that medical cannabis is over. It's still very important for the citizens of West Hollywood, for the people who live and work and shop here. But we have to be aware of the new reality. And if the goal of the City Council was to preserve the existing dispensaries, we still have some work to do. And so I hope you'll continue to work with us after tonight to see to it that we harmonize the laws of the City of West Hollywood with the new reality in the state of California since the ordinance was adopted, where medical and adult use licensing are consolidated. Thank you very much.
Anthony Ponzio, followed by Sarah Armstrong.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Ponzio, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to share my story here. I do want to just refer to someone who came up here and congratulated you guys on a successful method. And this is no offense, but I want to say that if the 4 locations close down before the new people are able to open their stores, that's actually unsuccessful. But I do want to tell you that I'm a member of West Hollywood. I live on North Flores Street. I'm an employee at MedMen West Hollywood. And I think that gives me a unique perspective on some aspects that I want to talk about. The first is foot traffic. This past Saturday, we saw 1,300 people come through MedMen West Hollywood's doors. That's 1,300 people who are spending money in cafes, restaurants, convenience stores, and that's multiplied over 4 people every single day of the week, every single month of the year. I also want to talk about being a member of MedMen West Hollywood staff. You've heard this before, but they are a very progressive organization in how they take care of us. Full benefits is a big deal, and they pay for all of it. It's a very competitive package. That's not going to happen at other companies that open right away. I also want to tell you that they are ahead of the curve when it comes to progressive salaries. We are making more money than the minimum wage right now. They're doing that for us. And most importantly, I want to talk to you about what I see every day with the customers that come in. I can tell you that I hear this every day. All of my coworkers here that sell these products, they hear words like, "You've changed my life." They hear words like, "I'm finally being able to get a good night's sleep. I'm finally able to get off pills." Regardless of what you think about cannabis, That's happening every day in our store, and I'm sure it's happening in the other 4 dispensaries. So to me, closing down these 4 places when you have economic, full people coming in and spending their money in the communities, closing down stores that are leading the way nationwide in a progressive employer and employee relationships, and closing down stores that help people get healthy, get happy, and even just get high, that's not a good idea.
Mr.
And I just-
Ponzio?
Yes,
Are you wrapping up?
I'm done. Please.
Thank you so much. Sarah Armstrong to be followed by Andrew Reback.
My name is Sarah Armstrong. I've been a patient at LAPCG since 2005. You should have a letter from me detailing the very storied history of that venerable organization. I won't go into it here. The future is always uncertain, and you have chosen some very fine candidates to build on the foundation of the 4 existing shops. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when you create an economic situation where 4 businesses, particularly LAPCG, can no longer function and must close their doors, then you are ignoring not only their history but your own. You are the first city in the United States to suffer the kind of violent raid, one of the first to suffer the kind of violent raid that Scott Imler endured and which eventually shut down his pioneering shop. You were the first city in the country to face federal forfeiture because the building he was in was a city building. You have been a part of this fight for so long, and I would urge you to honor the efforts of LAPCG and Don Duncan and allow them to remain open. They cannot survive without an adult use license. That's just the reality of the marketplace. The margin would be so slender they would have to close. And it would be an agony for all of us who have so long patronized that venerable organization and who have had so many good benefits come to us through their hard work and generosity. I know that the people who have submitted the winning applications worked very hard and spent a lot of money, but there is nothing like 15 years of hard work and accomplishment. So please, when you make your decision, think of those 15 years when it was difficult and hard and not a good place to be in. And yet, all of these places here in West Hollywood stayed the course. Now they need your support for all of the support.
Thank you,
they've
Ms.
given me.
Armstrong. Thank you very much. Andrew Reback will be followed by Aaron Silverstein.
Thank you, members of the council, for taking time on this. It's a very important issue, and thank you, staff, for taking the time as well, and for putting forth the consideration to extend the deadline, and for also considering grandfathering as we go forward. I'm glad I got to speak after Sarah. I'm also speaking in support of LAPCG. I've been a patient of theirs, and I'll say a patient of theirs because I think it's medicine, and they truly do go out of their way to take care of their patients. I just want to bring a human story to this. I approached them with a financial need. I explained to them my medical situation, and they were the only store that went out of their way to reply to my concern and work with me to make the medicine affordable. If LAPCG weren't there, it may cost me thousands of dollars more a year. It may price the medicine out of reach for me. And I just want you to know that it's an important community organization that does serve the community. I'm a homeowner in the area. They run a very clean shop. It's very respectable. It's fit in well with our community over the last decade plus. And I won't say that the process that we've gone through was mistaken or wrong in any way, but I will say that LAPCG should stay open. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Reback. Aaron Silverstein to be followed by Lauren Fontaine, and we have just a few people after that if anyone else wishes to put their slip in. Thank you.
Well, City Council, thank you for letting me speak about the boring topic of the night.
I'm Aaron Silverstein, Chief Financial Officer and a co-founder of Aon West Hollywood, one of the winners of Adult Medical and Consumption with Vaping and Eating. And I want to rise to support you for establishing a good ordinance and also some really clear, transparent criteria based on not just meritocracy, not just measurable things, but also our values in the community, such as social equity. Now, a lot of people are concerned about this, but I want to tell you my point of view is that I don't think we should extend these licenses temporarily, so I'm against point one, and also not to create new licenses, period, whether or not it's been tabled tonight. The simple fact is you had a procedure, you followed it meticulously, and the first moment it became political, everything went out the door, all the good stuff you did. And with 100 people applying, it's pretty clear most of us were going to lose. Me and my other winners are the lucky ones, but the city should not, in my opinion, put their thumb on the scale and arbitrarily change the vote and who won. Now, you set this ordinance up. It took a long time. It didn't say there were 12 licenses. It didn't say there were 8 licenses and 4 were the established people. If you wanted to do that, you should have done it then, but you can't go back at the last minute after 100+ companies have submitted applications spending collectively millions and millions of dollars just to apply, let alone all the countless hours of work to fill it out, and then change it. It would be like if you had a vendor who lost a competitive bid and you said, nah, I think they won. I'm going to change that right now. And although it's in your power, how can anyone trust West Hollywood's word if you're just going to change it at the last minute? Now, I really think what you should be doing instead is telling all of us winners, we're going to do what we can to expeditiously review your permitting process so you can complete tenant improvements and get going really fast. We are, in many cases, the companies who have exactly the same values that you established as being important, and we're going to treat our workers well. So give us a chance. Don't shut us down before we start.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Fontaine, I'm sorry, Lauren Fontaine, followed by Josh Morgerman. Pardon me, clearly you're not Mr. Fontaine.
Oh, it's okay. I'm Lauren Fontaine. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak tonight on this issue. I'm one of the owners of the Artistry. We were selected as a top applicant for a retail store license and consumption lounge licenses. Our owners include residents of West Hollywood and Los Angeles, and we've operated cannabis and non-cannabis businesses in both of those cities for many years. The city designed this application process, which was highly detailed and straightforward, seeking out the best candidates to operate businesses within its borders. All of the applicants, including the existing stores, had an equal opportunity to submit applications, and all of us spent countless hours, money, and compiled experts to create these unique business models which would serve the West Hollywood community. The applications are reviewable by anyone who's interested under the Public Records Act, so I do urge you, if you're interested, to look at our application or any of the other top applicants to see our business plans, and you'll see that we're dedicated to working with the city and providing open-door employment opportunities, competitive wages, comprehensive benefit packages, providing opportunities to many of the people who spoke today who are concerned about losing their jobs. And all of that was actually part of the scoring criteria that we were evaluated on. While we're really sympathetic to the existing stores, and we actually expected that some of them would be in the top 8, we feel that it's really unfair to the top 8 scoring applicants and to anyone who applied to circumvent the application process that was codified in the WeHo ordinance and to award additional licenses at this time. We also feel like extending the temporary license deadline to December is a slippery slope that gives the existing stores more time to try and change the existing law. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fontaine. Josh Morgerman, to be followed by Jason Beck.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and Mayor Duran, if you're watching live, I wish you a speedy recovery. I'm Josh Morgerman of Symblaze. I'm speaking on behalf of our client, Essence Cannabis Dispensary, and as an Essence Advisory Board member, and as a 26-year city resident. I wanted to comment on the idea proposed by some of granting extensions or grandfathering the old licenses. The city's RFP was thoughtful and it was extremely rigorous. It was hard work addressing all the requirements. I mean, it was no small feat. In essence, our client appreciated and respected the process and put in a ton of just time, sweat, energy, blood, and sweat into this to meet those requirements. And I was on the project team, and I can tell you, it was a tough RFP. And in light of this, we don't think it's reasonable that folks who did not put in the passion or the care or whatever, the creativity into the applications should be grandfathered in and given like a special privilege here. To do this would be tilting the playing field, a playing field that everyone understood to be transparent and level and fair, without favorites and without surprises. We all feel like everyone, there were 1 million people competing for these licenses, and we all understood, the requirements, and to just change them now because some don't like the results, it just doesn't seem reasonable to us. So out of respect for the winners of the process, and also just the very integrity of the process itself, we urge you not to change the rules after the fact. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morgerman. Jason Beck, to be followed by Anna Ho.
Good evening, honorable council members and city staff. My name is Jason Beck, and I'm the founder and operator of Oz in West Hollywood. As I'm sure you are aware, I was invited to the city of West Hollywood to open a dispensary here in 2004 by the city of West Hollywood. For the past 15 years, I have taken tremendous pride in being a loyal servant to the members of this community. I am the first person to make a legal sale in Los Angeles County, and we are the longest continuously operating medical marijuana dispensary south of San Francisco in the state of California. And I myself have continuously operated dispensaries for nearly 20 years. I am now the longest continuous retail operator of cannabis in the United States. We are tremendously disappointed to have finished outside of the winning applications. We do not believe that the city intended to exclude us from moving forward. We believe the city was under false assumptions that the medical market is still a viable option. It is not. It's less than 2% of the market at my location, and cannabis sales out in the adult use market make 98% of our daily sales. Just the fact of the matter is that medical marijuana in the current business market space doesn't make a conducive market space for our retail businesses. So in closing, I'd like to thank you guys and appreciate the extension, and thank you for continuing this discussion of grandfathering us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. Anna Ho, to be followed by Saul Yemeni. Anna, going twice. Anna, no Anna. Saul Yemeni. Thank you, Saul. Followed by Rob Rosenheck.
Good evening, council members. My name is Saul Yemeni. I'm the owner of Pink Dot. That's been in West Hollywood for over 30 years. And I wanted to thank you guys so much for hearing us out tonight. This process, I feel like, was extremely fair, and the way you guys went about it, and the entire, from beginning to end, I was a part of it. And, we spent a lot of time on our application and working on this and putting it together and making sure that, we're the right candidate for this. And, I feel like I do feel bad for the 4 existing dispensaries that were not the winners. But the process is the process. I feel like we should respect the integrity of the process. If we start changing little things here and there, when is it going to stop? It's like, let's just keep it the way it is. Everybody went through it. We spent a lot of time, a lot of money. I didn't sleep for nights just working on this and making sure like my SOPs and my design and everything was up to par, and making sure everything. I've owned the business in West Hollywood. I know how difficult it is to run a business, and I just feel like we should respect the integrity of the process. Let the 8 winners, run their businesses. Give us a chance, like they said. Like I said, I feel bad for the other 4 dispensaries that were not able to get it, but. If we knew that there was going to be 12, maybe some of us wouldn't have applied. If 8 is already, I feel like, a lot for the small, city of West Hollywood. And to make it 8, I probably wouldn't have applied. I'm sorry, to make it 12, I probably wouldn't have applied. So, I mean, I put a lot of time and energy, and, you know, I'm ready to run this business and give it all I got, and I really appreciate you guys granting me this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Bob Rosenheck, to be followed by John Locarny.
Good evening. I'm Rob Rosenheck. I'm the founder of Lord Jones. We were fortunate enough to win one of the 8 retail licenses. Thank you for holding this this hearing today. I want to commend everybody for creating a very progressive, wise process. And I trust you'll use the same wisdom to resolve the status of the 4 existing dispensaries. Tonight, I want to encourage you all to move the process forward, however you decide on the existing dispensaries with the winners. We've been waiting for a business license commission hearing, and that's not yet been scheduled. So I would encourage all of you to move that process forward as swiftly as possible. We already have our temporary state license, so as soon as we can move through the process with West Hollywood, we can open, and we're very eager to open. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenheck. John Locarny, to be followed by our last speaker, Jackie Subek.
Good evening. I'm John Locarny with Budberry. Not to be repetitive, but I am empathetic, as well as the other speakers, of the current license holders. Like they said, they are true pioneers in the industry. They have served the city for so long, and I do commend them for that. But the city created a process that was fair and objective and open to the public for comments every step along the way. And changing it now would undermine the integrity of that process. For that reason, I just simply hope that we honor the results and move forward with this process.
Thank you, sir. Jackie Subek is our final speaker.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jackie Subek. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Door Number 6, one of the consumption lounges in West Hollywood. Thank you. I have mixed feelings about this, and I just wanted to kind of put that out here for you guys. I understand the concept of having a hole in the adult use retail market and wanting to plug that up. That makes a lot of sense. And to that extent, perhaps a year might be too much on the extension, but I think an extension should potentially be considered, given the fact that most, except with the exception of the previous speaker, Lord Jones, and one of the other licensees, that nobody else has their temporary state license. It's just going to take some time to get through that process. So I do understand that. On the other hand, I also am a true cannabis advocate, and I understand the compassionate use, and I understand what these businesses have done and how they've served the community for many years. I myself have shopped at all of them. Although there's been some problems, none of those 4, they didn't place in the top 8. And even despite the fact that letters have been submitted to the city, I think that this process should be fair. I think you should think about this more than plugging up the hole. I think you should understand that there's new licensees that are ready to go but can't move forward for a variety of reasons. And on that topic, real quick, on the consumption lounges, I urge you to move quickly because everyone's at a standstill. We'll talk about all that later, but please move quickly. I just think that we've always had a fair, equitable, and inclusive cannabis policy movement, and that's where we need to stay with this. So whatever works, whatever feels fair and inclusive and equitable, and what people will stay compliant, I think that's what you should go with. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Subek. I believe the city clerk has some position slips, and typically they're read out, those who are have a position one way and those who have a position the other way. So if you would.
I actually have one.
Oh,
this individual didn't wish to speak, wanted to express their opposition to the recommended item. Jonathan, and I can't make out the last name, Waltrus, but I'll say Jonathan W. for the record.
Right. Thank you very much. Councilmember Meister, you wish to speak?
Yeah, I'd like to first start with a question, John, just to confirm what your recommendations are. The recommendation 1 is basically recommendation 2, right? That you want to extend the licenses of the temporary licenses from July 31st to December 31st?
So there's a slight difference between the two recommendations. The first recommendation is changing the code to allow for that change to December 31st. And then the second is actually the council giving direction to us to make that change. With recommendation number 2, the direction is actually to extend the temporaries to December 31st, 2019. Council could choose a different date than that, that's before December 31st, so say September 30th or some other date, but we need to change the code as well, just to be in compliance with what the state is also saying regarding temporaries.
Okay, so right now, though, the temporary license goes till,
The state temporary license goes until July. Our local temporary license goes until March. So we need to extend the local temporary licenses to meet the state temporary licenses of July.
okay, so if I can give my, okay. So I feel that we should not extend the temporary license past July 31st. 30 days has September, April, June?
It's-
31st. And one of the reasons, well, first of all, the reasons about process and what the expectations were, that's one reason I don't think it should be extended past July 30. I also think that, when we had this discussion here, putting out the rules, there was a very specific discussion where at least 2 of my colleagues said that the existing medical cannabis businesses don't get an automatic pass, that they have to go through the process like everyone else. And that was a very, very specific discussion. And so I just feel that that's what we put out there, that's what we agreed to, that's what the expectations were. And while I am also sympathetic that our 4 existing businesses did not make the top 8, we had a process. Everybody seems to think that the process was very fair, that the winners did a stellar job with their applications, and I think that we should be focusing on getting these new businesses open as quickly as possible and helping them so that we can continue to get the revenue that we're hoping to get from these businesses. So it's my opinion that, end of July should be the end of that date should be when the temporary licenses end. We can always look at that again if we see that that we don't have many businesses open. But I think in terms of expectations of the new businesses and our residents, that is what we should be looking at.
Thank you. Councilmember Howman?
Yeah, I have a question, John. What is your anticipation in terms of the people who were within the top 8? They have to go through an actual licensing process with the Business License Commission. And I imagine you're not doing those en masse. You're bringing them to specific hearings with the Business License Commission. What is your estimation in terms of the time of that?
So there's actually 4 different items that the top 8 applicants need to secure before they can open. The first is a location, if they did not already have one. So some are still finding locations. The second is going to be a business license permit. We were not accepting any applications until after the application evaluation committee met and made a final determination of the scores, which they did about a week and a half ago. So we're going to be releasing that application, and we will be accepting those materials from the selected applicants. You're correct that there are a number of applicants, and there are only a certain number of times the Business License Commission can meet. There can also be special meetings, but it's still a workload issue. So we will take it as they come in. The first person to submit documents will get one of the first hearings. There may be more than one hearing at each meeting, but it's simply how quickly people can provide us with the documentations that they need to and the information that they need to get that scheduled. But in addition to those 2 items, the business, if they're doing tenant improvements, they need to get their planning permits and their building and safety permits and actually make those improvements. They also need to obtain their state license before they can open. There are a few of the top selected applicants that were able to obtain temporary permits because they already had a location prior to the state prior to when the state stopped issuing those temporary permits in December. So there's a variety of different things that the top 8 applicants need to secure before they can open. So I think it will take some time. I think depending on how quickly they can move, this is going to be happening throughout 2019. Some may be open sooner in the summer, some it will take a little bit longer.
And then my follow-up question is, if there is a business that was selected as one of the top 8 and they're unable to secure a location, or something comes up during the licensing that presents a problem, it's possible that some of the top 8 will not actually get licensed, or they will not get a location, correct?
Correct.
So then the city would have the option of choosing somebody who finished 9th or 10th, or opening up the process again if we wanted to.
So the way that the ordinance is currently written is that each of the top scoring applicants have 1 year to secure a business license from the city. They can secure the state license afterwards, but they need to secure the business license from the city within a year. And currently what our ordinance says is that if there are any available licenses at a future date, that the city manager would reopen the application process. That's how it is currently written in our ordinance.
So we wouldn't automatically go to 9, 10, or 11?
Not as it is currently written.
Okay. Having asked those questions, and thank you, I don't think it's realistic that the newer licensees are going to be open within the next 6 months. I mean, maybe 1 or 2, but probably most of them will not. And given that, I think it is prudent for us to allow the existing licensees to continue at least until the end of the year. I agree we had a process. It was a good process. I support what came out of that process. But until the new licensees are really ready to open, I don't see why there's any harm in allowing our existing businesses to continue under their temporary license. So that's what I would advocate. I support your recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I agree with Councilmember Heilman. I believe that we had an excellent process. I want to commend staff on their very careful and deliberate process and how they have taken each step carefully and thoughtfully. I hear from the comments that that the process feels like it has come to a stop. Understanding now that the permits to apply for business license have not yet been made available because of the recent hearing that happened. That makes sense to me, although I will say, given what we're hearing and given that there is a concern about being able to open quickly, please at least take direction from me, if not this whole council, to make those permits available as quickly as possible. I know our new and hopeful operators are working under a timeline, and so making sure that they can move as quickly as possible and as quickly as their business operation allows is very important. And if we don't have the business license meeting scheduled already, let's do so ASAP. I'm supportive of both of staff's recommendations. I would also like to receive regular updates on how the businesses are unfolding, to make sure that we're not slowing down their process, to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to make sure that the process moves swiftly and seamlessly. I think if we are going to move forward
well, I think we're holding off on item 3, so I'll not comment on that for now. One thing that was raised tonight was the issue of organized labor at these shops, which I think is very progressive, and I commend those who are looking at that option for their businesses. I certainly hope that we are always looking to worker benefits and worker protections in our workplaces, and I certainly would encourage businesses who are coming to the community to consider those business practices, which are very reflective of our community's values. So I'll leave it for there.
Thank you. And I guess, thank you. I guess, John, I want to follow up just on a couple of questions Councilmember Heilman asked. Do we know how many businesses currently have temporary state licenses? I mean, we've had one member say they have one, and no reason to doubt them, but is it 2 or 5 or?
I believe there are 3 of the new applicants that have them.
And do those expire? By their name, it would seem they do.
Yes,
They're temporary.
they do expire. I'd have to look at the exact expiration dates on each of them. It's probably July, like the other ones, but they can also be renewed into a provisional license because they're moving forward in the permanent licensing process for us. I would say that 2 of the ones that I'm aware of are adult use locations, and 1 is a consumption lounge.
Okay. I also think we should extend these to the end of December, and my guess, or I guess I would layer on top of that, I think the 4 existing businesses should probably, I mean, we're looking out ahead, so I don't know, but probably be able to stay in business until we have 4 new businesses up, and then we will have 8 businesses. And I guess if that's not what we're doing, what I would like our council to do is to potentially commit to giving the existing businesses 6 months notice before we close them. I think we know that 58 people have actual jobs, and if we're going to really take the step to move our legacy businesses, move and close them, I think they deserve at least 6 months to wind down their leases, to potentially try and find sublessors, to just to make the adjustments necessary. So I would ask that if we do make a motion and we do this to the December, that we get at least maybe a quarterly update on how fast these businesses are opening, because I just want to throw out this possible headline, city closes 4 cannabis businesses 4 days after Christmas. That's a terrible headline to come out in November when the 4th business opens. I just think we need to, really think through about the people who live in our community and the hard work they're doing. And the question of legacy businesses, we can defer to another discussion, but I guess that's really my. I had one more thing I wanted to ask. I guess that's it for now. Thank you. Councilmember Heilman?
Yeah. Sorry, it may come back to you, but it is possible for somebody who got a license to approach an existing licensee and try to buy out their lease, buy out their location. It's possible for them to join forces in some way or absorb an existing business?
Some of that is problematic. Throughout the process, we continually reminded people that they needed to implement the business plan and the application that they brought forward. That is what they were scored on, and that is what they need to bring forward. The ownership structure of that, the design of that, the business plan of that, all of the items that were in their screening application is their responsibility to implement here in the city. So that would be difficult, I believe. I'm not going to say no to anything, but I think that would be quite difficult.
Thank you.
And just to say, that was actually my question, if you could talk about the ownership structure of these, and if owners can change, I think I was talking this morning about, what if one of the partners dies? What happens to that business? That sort of thing. Just sort of remind us the commitment that the business has made to their plan and to their ownership structure and to our city.
Sure, and so we've had some conversations about this, and I'm actually going to ask if our Assistant City Attorney, Lauren Langer, can briefly address this.
Yeah, I think it's a challenging issue because, as John pointed out, the businesses need to operate in a manner in which the screening application was presented. We also understand that for the life of a business, there may be some changes. There may be a death in the ownership. There are certain corporate changes that happen over time. So we're thinking through how to ensure that these businesses are successful in the long run and trying to determine if there's anything that needs to be amended in our code. But for the time being, it says no transfers. And we're thinking through how to deal with these long-term options to make sure that they're successful in the long term.
Just to follow up, that would mean it's 100% the expectation that they open the business that was described in their application.
That is correct.
And then if changes need to happen afterwards, they would be addressed subsequently.
Right, we would address them in the future.
Councilmember Meister.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem D'Amico said something about these legacy businesses closing down, but they're not going to close down. They can continue as medical marijuana shops, isn't that right? It's a question.
They would not have a temporary permit to sell adult use cannabis anymore. They would still maintain a license to sell medical cannabis.
Right, and there is a difference between medical cannabis, what is allowed to be sold, versus adult. Is that correct? Different
There are some
quantities, et
differences.
cetera? Okay, thank you.
And I think what they're saying is the reality is that with the availability of adult cannabis, many of the people who previously were relying on doctors' notes don't need to do that anymore. So probably their business model is not going to be successful anymore.
Can I just follow up real quick? But if nothing is open and they are open as a medical cannabis shop, then they are going to have customers just as they have for the last 15 years.
I think, why don't you go ahead? But I think what we want to come back to is a description of how the medical cannabis requirements differ this year than they did in the previous year. So I don't know if that's a question for John or that's a question for the Assistant City Attorney, or maybe it's a question for some member of the community. But I think what I know is that you used to get a license fairly easily for a long list of concerns, and now a license is required to be filed either with the county or the state, and it's a larger fee and it's a longer process. And so people who might have needed a license to get cannabis at all now can go into a shop and buy what they need.
Yeah, so there's the biggest difference is that now, you can purchase adult use cannabis, and there's not just medical available. And so individuals that were purchasing cannabis before adult use sales started were getting medical prescriptions in order to do that. And it was quite easy to get a medical prescription. Now, in order to qualify for the discounts and to qualify for medical cannabis, you have to go and get a county-issued card. There's various steps you have to go through to get that county-issued card, and it costs $100 a year. So it's more difficult to actually obtain the right to get medical cannabis, and then also there's another option available, and that option is adult use cannabis. That's the major difference right now between where we were at before 2018 and after 2018.
Thank you. I just want to say that I think we've followed our process very carefully. There was a comment made that we got political at the end. We actually followed the process all the way through. We allowed the announcement to happen. We didn't take any action before that announcement happened. In fact, we had a conversation saying that we didn't want to take action before that happened. So I just want to make sure that we're all clear about what did and did not happen. I also think, as with many other licenses and many other businesses that open in the city, from time to time, regulations change. We've learned through this process that state regulations have changed while we've been conducting our process. So there may be times where we have to reconcile those issues. There may be times where additional regulation comes into play. We've placed additional regulations on tobacco products or on alcohol businesses since the time that alcohol businesses or tobacco products were open and available in the city. So it is entirely possible that things can change from time to time. I think the issue of fairness is one that was raised in public comment. I think that needs to be focused on, and I think that's what we're trying to do here, taking it step by step and figuring out exactly how we can unfold this process in a way that is fair and equitable, both respecting the process that's in place and making sure that a product remains available in our community that is important and available and has been a part of our city's history. So I understand that not everybody's going to leave here happy, but I hope that you know that we all, and I know especially staff, are working very hard to make this process as fair and equitable for everyone as it possibly can be.
I will say I will be very happy when I get to leave here tonight. My motion is to approve staff's recommendations with respect to items number 1 and 2.
Thank you. I wonder if you would accept a friendly amendment that...
How friendly?
That we have quarterly or more frequently updates, and that we at least do our best or have some sort of commitment to giving 6 months' notice to the businesses that will lose their, I think Councilmember Meister is right, they're not going out of business, but that would potentially lose their adult use license. I just really think in terms of worker protections and taking care of our legacy businesses, that's something I'd like to ask that we do.
I think that's fair. I'm fine with that.
All right. Anyone ready to vote? Should we? And the motion passes 3-1. And I believe that is our last item this evening. We have some public comment at the end. No public comment. Did you wish to?
I have one additional comment.
Yes, Lagerfeld. I think before you go, Councilmember
Yes.
Meister has one thing to say.
Can we add Karl Lagerfeld to the adjournment motions? Thank you.
I didn't hear.
We're adjourning in memory of Karl Lagerfeld.
Oh, okay. As people are leaving, I just wanted to say publicly, thank you. We've had a difficult couple of weeks, and we had a fairly difficult meeting tonight, and I want to thank our Mayor Pro Tem for stepping in and handling it, and I want to wish our current mayor a speedy recovery. I just want to say publicly, we are an incredibly strong city. We have lived through other problems in the past, other crises, and we have come out stronger as a result, and I know that we are going to do so here. We've got an incredible staff. We've got wonderful people who live in the city who are dedicated and passionate and love this city very much, and I know that we are going to continue to be strong. It's our job to, as a community, to stay strong, stay calm, and carry on. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Very much. We are adjourned to March 4th.